Hello and good evening. JC here, your host at We Are the Arsenal. I hope everyone is well, or at least feeling a little bit better, because it's been, 24 hours or so, give or take, since the result yesterday, unfortunately. Not the one we were expecting or wanting. But either way, I hope everyone is doing well this evening. And joining me, a jam-packed panel to help analyse, but also react to the game. We've had a chat off air. Some people are a bit more positive than others. I think we might see a few rants this evening, but we'll have to wait and see. You'll have to stick around to see what unfolds. So get your questions in the chat. The panel will answer as and when. And just before I introduce them, if you do go on to enjoy today's show, please do hit a like, subscribe if you're new around here. Turn that notification bell on, because there'll be plenty of shows being brought to you by myself and the rest of the gang you can see on your screens now. But up next, I used to call him a guest. He's more of a resident now on the channel. Neil, how we doing, my friend?
I am good, man. I am good. Thanks for having me on. It's good I missed last week, but you guys know why. Had some family stuff to take care of, but it's good to be back. And unfortunately, we're going to be talking about a loss, but what can we say? This is part of the game, right?
It's all part of the fun. All part of the fun. And another regular on the channel, Keith, how are we doing this evening?
Not good, mate. It's been a bad day. I'm struggling to get over it, to be honest. I was saying just before we... Hello?
I think we've got a bit of feedback.
Odd. How about now? Is that any better?
All good.
It's good.
Yeah, sweet. I was just saying I've been staying at home looking after my youngest today, because she's been poorly, non-COVID. And I thought I was a little bit hungover because I had quite a few beers last night. But I think I've caught an allergy. So that's not helped. But obviously we've got loads to talk about tonight. And I'm probably the one that will do it if anyone does. If anyone's watching doesn't like bad language, oh shit, really, because I'm in a really bad mood. So yeah, I'll apologise in advance for that.
No need to apologise. Swearing and adult content within reason is allowed on the channel. Famous last words.
Yeah, for what you say there, Jake.
Absolutely. So, and we've got a new guest on the channel this evening. First appearance. Gunners Pitchside Louis. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, mate. Thanks. Apart from last night, of course. But
Yes.
I sort of saw it coming. But apart from that, I'm doing all right.
Good.
I'll let you. I don't know what order we're going in, but when it's my turn, obviously, I'll stick my oar in.
Absolutely, yeah. There'll be plenty of questions fired at you guys this evening. And finally, we've got John, another regular on the show. How are we doing this evening, my friend?
I'm good, apart from the result last night, which we'll get into later on. I'm good, football aside, and it's going to be a very interesting show to hear what the chaps have to say.
Yes, I'm sure most of us will be of a similar opinion, but there'll also be some unique views on how yesterday unfolded. Now, for anyone that wants to go ahead and check these guys out over on Twitter, I've got all of their details down in the description below, and those that have YouTube channels are also down in the description below, and they'll all plug you in at the end of today's show so they can let you know what you can find on their channels. So are we ready, chaps?
Yeah.
Rightio. Going to start off with a nice easy one this evening with regards to the lineup. Rather than giving my kind of 50p's worth on the entire situation, I think it was pretty obvious, maybe barring one or possibly two players. I think the lineup pretty much picked itself yesterday within reason. System, maybe not so much. Some people wanted to look at maybe 4-3-3. Others wanted to look at 3-5-2. Neil, coming to you first. We'll go in order as we're on this side of the screen. Thoughts on the lineup? Would you have made any changes to who started, the system? General thoughts, mate.
Oh boy. I don't know, man. We this is the team we had. We had no other choice but to put this team out. You know, and the whole idea of us exiting 2 cup competitions in the space of 2 weeks it comes down to Edu and Arteta. It falls on them because they're loaning players out here, there, and everywhere. Now we have areas of the team that needs to be filled, and we're going into games without these types of players. So putting Sambi in there by himself like that was just this.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we from a party, but 7 hours before he was on a flight coming from his home country. You know, so it's just something else, man. I just don't understand it. There was no proactivity in that area of the pitch. I know.
Oh, looks like we've lost Neil. I was literally in the process of messaging him. I think he's got some connecting issues. So, Keith, what are your thoughts? Lineup, system, different players. How would you have gone about it?
To be honest, there wasn't really much option to do very much else than what he did do, to be honest. By all accounts, both Cedric Suarez and Callum Chambers were unavailable, whether that's a COVID thing or what. So there wasn't really any option other than to play Tomiyasu, like Jim said in the chat. All right, Jim, by the way, long time no see. He hadn't trained. He's literally just recovered from COVID. And I'll jump back a bit. The first thing I would say is, like the famous saying goes, on paper it looks great, but football ain't played on paper. And we were in exactly the same situation that Liverpool would have been if we had played the first leg when it should have been played. We had an awful lot of players coming back. You got Tommy's just come back from COVID. Who else have we got? Odegaard's just come back from COVID. ESR's just been injured. I think it was a groin injury or something. So there's 3 players. There's Saka went off in the last game injured, so he was a bit of a doubt. Gabriel's missed games through suspension. So we had an awful lot of players coming back. And the one thing I would like to say, there's been a lot of stick flying around aimed towards Tommy mostly and Thomas Partey as well. So like I said just now, Tommy's not trained and he's literally just recovered from COVID. You try playing against, Andy Robinson and Diogo Jota when you've just come back from COVID. I wouldn't fancy it fully fit. Obviously, a different fish because, Tommy's a world-class footballer. But he was well up against it. The same with Thomas Partey. He's literally flown back from Africa, landed at lunchtime, played against Liverpool in the semi-final that night.
Yeah.
And fair game to him. He's apologised on social media today. They were both tackles made by a tired man, to be honest. And I certainly won't call either of them out for anything that they, they weren't their best performances, but you wouldn't expect them to be either.
Yeah, there's definitely question marks over, not necessarily in a negative way, with regards to some of the players you've mentioned, especially Thomas Partey. I think, had we have had a fully fit team and more numbers in midfield, there would have been no reason to have declared himself fit and available for the game. Exactly. But if anything, he's tried to help out, and it's backfired massively, unfortunately for him, given what happened in the game, which we'll get into in a later part of today's show. And likewise with Tomiyasu, I know a lot of people don't like Cedric. He's not of the quality that we need. Likewise with Chambers. But had either of those two been fit or available, you have to ask yourself the question: would they have started ahead of Tomiyasu? Because I think it was Jim mentioned in the chat, he hadn't even had a training session, not one training session between, not being available and yesterday's game. So he's going to be rusty. He's going to make mistakes, which is unfortunate. John, what are your thoughts, mate? Would you have changed the formation? Would you have gone with a different system, or would you have gone with what Arteta went with?
Yeah, I agree with Keith. Like when I looked at the starting 11, I was really excited. What worried me was it looked very attacking on paper with Sambi in the middle on his own. But that's all we could go for. But I think I'm like most fans. We looked at the starting 11 and we were excited, but then we forgot to realise how many of them 11 players were fully fit.
Yeah.
Odegaard was out injured. Smith Rowe was injured. Tomiyasu had no training session. So I think we forgot to take that into account going into the game. We got excited by looking at the lineup and didn't realise that 4 or 5 of the boys weren't 80% fit, never mind 100. And coming up against a Liverpool team, even with Mane and Salah missing, they had a lot of experience out there compared to our young team. You know, they have a lot of proven winners out there. So there was nothing we could have changed.
No, I don't think there is. I don't think it would have been too
I was
much.
good for I was hoping Callum Chambers would be fit over Tomiyasu, because Chambers played really well in the first leg. It was probably one of his best games for Arsenal. So I was hoping he'd be fit for the game, but as Keith said, he wasn't. But nothing could be changed.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could have changed in that game in the lineup. Well, I predicted this lineup. Funnily enough, it was the lineup that I probably would have gone with. But in the build up to the game, there were a lot of people on social media, at least, saying that Arsenal should have gone with a similar system to the one that got us a draw in the first leg, and that was with 10 men. So, you know, hindsight's a great thing when you lose a game. When you win a game, it doesn't matter too much. And, you know, looking back at it now, a lot of people will probably say, you know, we should have gone for a slightly different system, considering the result we got away at Anfield. And not many clubs go there, you know, and nick a draw, which was a great result at the time. Lou, mate, what are your thoughts?
Sorry, is that me?
What are your thoughts on the lineup? Would you have made any changes? Were you happy with it when you saw it?
Was Chambers fit?
He was unavailable.
Yeah, see, who else could have played instead of Tomiyasu?
No
one really.
Tavares?
You could have put Tavares there. White could have been pushed out there as a right centre back, and you could have played Holding in at centre back with Gabriel, maybe.
I would have gone with that because Tomiyasu was. I felt sorry for him.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, we know what Tommy's all about, mate. This season, he's been phenomenal. Probably up there in the top. Him and Ramsdale probably been our best signings of the season.
Yeah,
especially price-wise, you know. Tommy just wasn't at the races. Early on was a great start. You know, Latte hit the crossbar on that free kick. I love the way Martinelli turned Trent inside out early on as well.
Good start to the game.
He did I thought it's going to be one of them games again, you know, because he did the same to Cancelo as well, didn't he? Give him a bit of a hard time. And the praise that boy's getting off the top echelons of the Premier League at the moment. Yeah, we got a baller there, mate. But the only weak link I saw when I looked at Liverpool's midfield, is it Fabinho?
Yeah.
Mate, Fabinho up against Sambi, it's just no competition, mate. And so much more experience. Even Milner, unfit Smith Rowe again. I felt sorry for Smith Rowe. He shouldn't have been out there either.
No.
And really, in an ideal world, Odegaard shouldn't have been playing either. I mean, even though he was probably one of our, he didn't have a bad game, but you can see why the Tottenham game got called off now.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
we would have got they would have murdered us.
Yeah.
I just.
Well, look, we'll head into the match breakdown now. I'm going to come to you first, Neil, on a couple of... first sort of question for the analysis of the game. Now, Arsenal started the game really, really well. Very, very positive start to the game. First 15 minutes, great high pressing. We were looking to win the ball back within sort of 5 to 6 seconds, not just high up the pitch, but all over the pitch. As Lou mentioned a moment ago, Lacazette hit the bar in the 5th minute from a free kick. Martinelli looked absolutely right up for it. That first 15 minutes, it had me really excited. What did you make of Arsenal's start, Neil?
I mean, it was based on the lineup, knowing that we went that aggressive in terms of our front attacking players. I was expecting it because that's what we've been doing for the past how much ever games now.
Yeah.
We've been going at them, we've been pressing them, we've been, but then as soon as that first goal went in, we just went into our shell. And one thing I wanted to just touch on, I know I had to drop off a little bit there.
No, that's okay.
I was a little bit surprised that we didn't push Benjamin White into that center, into that defensive midfield position alongside Sambi, because he could play there as well. And I'll bring Rob Holding in, but was Rob Holding available?
As far as I'm aware, he was available for selection. Yeah.
Right, and to Gunnar Pitside's point, I would have actually put Holding in there and move Ben White up, and then bring Tavares in, because Tavares has had more game time than Tomiyasu, and we know Cedric's not available. I know he had a poor start against Nottingham Forest, but you can't hold him back because of that. So those are little, in hindsight, those are the little tweaks I would have done to the team to try to make it, because then essentially what you would have is a back five.
Yeah.
And then you probably push Laka and Martinelli to play in a double striking position, and you have Odegaard and Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe behind them. But again, hindsight, we're only talking about this after the fact.
Yeah.
But in terms of it was just we after that first 15-20 minutes, we were not in the game. After that, we were just not in the game.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And there is a point I want to talk about, and it was actually raised by Keith during the game yesterday. So I'm going to come to you on this one, Keith, because you did make a very, very good point. Although Arsenal
I have no recollection of making a good point. It might be
let me remind you. So although we had a great start to the game, first 15 minutes, we should have capitalized. We should have tried. Well, it's obviously out of our hands, but we should have tried to have gone 1-0 up. But on the 13th minute, Matip had a goal disallowed from a corner, rightly so, for offside as well. There was nothing wrong with it. In terms of the decision, that is, sorry. But as you said yesterday, it seemed to knock the momentum out of Arsenal, the momentum that we'd been building, the confidence that we'd been building in that first 15 minutes or so had seemed to have been knocked out of us completely by a goal that rightly was disallowed. Why do you think Arsenal reacted the way they did afterwards? Because it was, we'll get onto the goal in a minute, but it was only, 6 or 7 minutes later that we conceded the goal. And had we have continued in that fashion, I'd like to think we would have been okay. What are your thoughts on the situation?
Initially, what I thought, and this may well have been what the players were thinking, first 10 minutes, we were all over them, we were battering them. Like we said, Gabby was absolutely killing Trent, and I thought, yeah, this could be one of those nights. And we'd created chances. We'd created half chances. We'd had the free kick, which Kelleher, I didn't realise he'd saved it at the time, but that was
I didn't either.
Top draw save that the kid made there. But we were knocking on the door and we just couldn't get through. And all of a sudden they get a corner, and like that, even though it was offside, they cut through us like a hot knife through butter. And those players must have been thinking, we've been battering them for 10 minutes and they've got at us that easily with one chance. And I think that's where the self-belief went. And Liverpool have got a sign over us at the moment. We haven't got any players really who've, other than when we, the season when we won the FA Cup, towards the end of the season, we got away with a 1-0 and we drew with them and beat them on penalties in the Community Shield. They've got a sign over us. They always beat us. And looking at the stats there, we're probably all very surprised at the possession, because normally it's far, far in favour of Liverpool against us. And I think, honestly, we need to just get a real dodgy 1-0 win against them just to get some belief that we can actually beat this team, because I think that's where it went.
Yeah, the psychological factor is a big one. Unfortunately, against the top sides, although our form, generally speaking, over the last 3 or 4 years since Arsene Wenger left has been better, it still doesn't make good reading. Funnily enough, there was a tweet that I think, John, you shared earlier from Albinio on Twitter with regards to the record
horrific
against
stats.
the current top 3 at the moment, and it makes horrible reading. Coming to you next, John, then. Obviously, as mentioned, Liverpool did go 1-0 up on the 20th minute from a driving run from Jota. Unfortunately, there was a comedy, not necessarily a comedy of errors, but a number of errors in the build-up to the goal. Tomiyasu slipped, which is unlike him. And I didn't feel like the defenders, as you can see on screen now, the defenders are all on top of each other. Gabriel...
Ben White, hand up KT's bumhole.
I know it's not. It doesn't look good, does it? It doesn't look good. But they're all on top of each other. I don't feel like they closed the ball down very well. And unfortunately for Ramsdale, who looked like he was going to his left, Jota mishits the ball and it goes into the other corner. I suppose my question to you, John, is, could Arsenal have done anything any better?
Of course, look, we've praised Gabriel, we've praised the back 5 this season, constantly. But you have to close. Jota has been a wonderful signing for Liverpool. They got him for 40 million. He's took Firmino out of the team. He's on fire. His goal since he's signed for Liverpool has been phenomenal. So you have to close any striker down in this. Well, it was a cup game, but in the Premiership, you have to close down any strike. You can't let anyone take a shot. Doesn't matter where it's from. And it reminded me so much of our old defence with Mustafi, David Luiz, Bellerin one side. It just brought back a memory of that for a split second. And the goal just took everything away from us. It took momentum away. Going back on the other comment about the first 15 minutes, if we didn't score then, it was only ever going to give Liverpool confidence, because they knew we were the home team. We had the Emirates was flying at the start of the game. So they knew if they could hold us out for the first 15 minutes, us at our best, not being able to capitalise, they'd only grow in confidence anyways with the experience they have. So from the goal, we could have done much better, but I don't want to go. I class this as the season over because it's a cup game, but I don't want to go in too much on the boys because our defence has done really well this season at times.
Yeah, I think, overall, up until this point of the season, there's definitely plenty of positives to take out of Arsenal from this season, generally speaking. But you do make a very, very good point. We have to realise that, whilst we did dominate in that first 10 to 15 minutes yesterday, Liverpool are a team in their peak. They've been in this situation many, many times before in the past. They've won titles. Great game management from Liverpool, and they're playing against a new, young, and upcoming team who are learning. And I know it wasn't.
And they were at the same stage we're at now when Klopp first came in, so they know all about this. They went from kids themselves to having to put up with this pressure to get into a Champions League final, which they got robbed in, and then so they know exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, well, coming to you next, Gunner pitch side. Last question with regards to the first half. Liverpool pretty much took control of the game until I'd say about the 35th minute in the first half. Then it became fairly equal up until half time. Obviously, at this point, we didn't realise that Liverpool would go on to win the game. But in your opinion, how important was it that we got to half time at only 1-0 to give Arteta that chance to, speak with the boys?
That's massive. Massive. Going on Diego Jota, I don't know what he is about him, but he has a hoodoo over Arsenal. How many goals has he scored against us just this season alone? We need. I think it was about 6 or 7 minutes to go, and I just said, let's just get in at 1-0. 1-0, and an early equaliser, and then we're right back in it, going towards the North Bank. we can win it, you know, and or it could have gone to extra time or whatever, you know. But I just don't think we had a fit enough team. I just don't think Arteta's got the options, and he's leaving it bloody late in the transfer market.
He is.
Really is.
He is, and we're going to get onto that. We are going to get onto that because I think that does have a part to play in what happened not only yesterday but over some of the previous 2 or 3 games. And you make a good point about coming out in the second half and equalising early, and that does bring me on to my next question. Funnily enough, which Neil, I'm going to ask you this one. So as he just alluded to, you know, Arsenal came out all guns blazing really at the start of the second half. And I'd say up until the second goal, it was pretty much end-to-end stuff between Arsenal and Liverpool. Really felt like a cup tie, in all honesty. Could Arsenal have approached it in any other type of way during this time? Because, you know, when we reflect back on that first sort of 20, 25 minutes of the second half, with the amount of chances that both teams had, you know, there could have been 2 or 3 goals between the two sides. Could Arsenal have done anything any different before that second goal went in?
You know, there's some games where it goes by, and not just pertaining to Arsenal, but other teams too, where the ball just cannot seem to find its way to the back of the net. It happens. It happens. Not only that, we were a depleted team, a weakened team. But what I feel really deflated us in the second half was that miss from Lacazette. That took the spirit of whatever little fire and spirit we had in the team. That miss took it out. I couldn't believe it. Like, you know, these are the times, though, especially those are the times you want senior players to really step up, show some composure, and really, you know, deliver. And he failed to do that. And now, you know, it's good to know that he's the type of player that's not going to be here come next season, because we really need to have those clinical type of players in the team. You know, that was a clinical moment. You needed a clinical finish, someone who was composed and aware enough to be able to bring that ball down. I know he had at least one extra touch in that space of time, that he could have touched that ball, bring it down, and find the back of the net.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because after the game yesterday, absolutely fuming, like a lot of people were, very gutted with the result. And as you do, you know, you read reports, you read blogs, you watch other YouTube channels, you know, just to hear what other people's thoughts are, just to see if you can really kind of comprehend what's happened. You know, was it a deserved victory or not? Were Arsenal, you know, hard done by? But there was a point made, I can't remember who it was now, but he mentioned that had Arsenal had a world-class striker yesterday, we had chances in that game. Yeah. We had chances. And you refer to the Lacazette chance. At that point in the game, it's still 1-0 to Liverpool. Had that have gone in, it changes the whole complexity of the game and the way that the last 20, 25 minutes unfolds.
Entirely.
So we are going to get on to this problem that we have at Arsenal in certain areas at the moment. So I'm glad that you've mentioned it, Neil, because it's a really, really, really valid point. Coming to you next, Keith. I suppose there's probably a couple of questions I want to ask you here. We'll split it in two for just a moment. But Arteta waited until the 73rd minute, I think it was, to make substitutions. It was Partey on for Emil Smith-Rowe, who we've already talked about, you know, definitely wasn't match fit. Yeah. Partey, you know, I think we were all kind of, at the time, quite happy that he was coming on prior to knowing what was going to unfold. And then the other one that really surprised me was Nketiah for Lacazette, who's been very underwhelming against top opposition this season. We don't really have anyone else on the bench anyway, but should Arteta have made changes sooner? Were they the right changes? There's so many questions around the substitutes yesterday.
I just got a quick question, right? Going off topic a bit, right? This is about Aubameyang. Now, For me, I'd love to keep Aubameyang to the end of the season, then let him go, maybe. Right? Get rid of Nketiah now. He is just not good enough. I'm not going to go into it. I can't. It's not like I can't stand him. I just don't want him in my team shirt anymore. You know, he's had his chances, right? But I read a report that when Aubameyang was late for the second time, I got him on a 1-to-1, stripped him of the captaincy, said you're going to be training on your own, blah blah blah. Aubameyang slapped him in the face.
Oh, Neil's just left us.
Now I don't know the truth in this, but it makes a lot of sense. It does. The way he's ostracized him.
I think if he slapped him in the face, mate, I don't think he'd be at the club at all. I think you're reading a bit too much into that.
Yeah, he thinks it's bullshit.
I think
I wouldn't. Yeah, I have to agree with John on that one. I wouldn't.
He wouldn't be at the club today.
It'd have just been sacked on the spot, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Any sort of physical altercation between players is bad enough as it is, but towards a manager, that would be game, set, and match. Unfortunately, I get what you're saying about Aubameyang in terms of potentially his use between the sort of now and the end of the season, compared to maybe an Nketiah, for example. But we're going to speak about strikers after the match breakdown, and Aubameyang potentially leaving the club could open the door for a much better world-class striker. So we'll get onto it. But Keith, quickly going back to that point I just made there a second ago with regards to substitutions, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Arteta's got 4 money for making substitutions too late. The one thing that really struck me, I'm the same as everyone else. I was happy to see Partey coming on, and ESR was blowing out of his arse at that point, and he needed to go off really. And like you said, Jake, none of us knew what was going to happen. We were all happy that he was coming on, and I was incredibly impressed, like I said earlier. So I didn't see a lot wrong with that one. I don't see why he took Lacazette off. I know he's missed an absolute sitter, and I've said for a long time I would much rather have Lacazette in that team than Aubameyang because he brings more to the table. But that's sort of chance you want Aubameyang on that. It's not the first time Lac has been clean through and skied it over bar. I think it was in the Europa League last season. We did the exact same thing. And let's not forget, we could have won this game last night. I know everyone's banging on and it wasn't a great performance, but Kelleher made 2 world-class saves. There was the one from Lacaz's free kick, and there was the near post one from Gabby early in the second half. It was point blank range, and he tipped it over the bar. And then this one, that's 3 chances, and I could have got my prediction right, and then the FA would have been investigating me for getting all these scores right all the time. But personally, I think he probably should have made the changes earlier because there were players who were starting to struggle, and that was starting to show. And that didn't help with the turning of the tide where we started the second half quite well again. In a roundabout sort of way, a little bit too late, and I would have kept Blacker on as well as putting Eddie up there because we needed goals. Yeah,
I was a little bit. It was a questionable decision, considering I'd understand it a little bit more if he was taking Lacker off and he maybe had another striker on the bench to bring on after him, and maybe take off like a Saka or Martinelli because they're tired, and go with 2 strikers. It would make more sense. But
Eddie's not good enough to. I mean, he's not good enough to play for Arsenal, frankly, but he's certainly not good enough to lead the line against a side like Liverpool.
No, he struggled massively against Nottingham Forest the other week when he did get his opportunity. I know he wasn't on very long, but it's becoming very, very, very frustrating. Coming to you next, John. 79th minute, Jota scores an outstanding ball, in all fairness, to Trent from the right-hand side. It was reviewed by VAR for offside. 2 questions for you. Firstly, do you think that it was the right decision in terms of VAR getting the call right? And secondly, we were chasing the game at this point, but do you think Arsenal, 10 minutes to go, as I said, we're chasing the game. We've really got to go at it anyway. High line, players potentially out of position. But do you think Arsenal could have defended better?
What annoyed me about the goal was when Xhaka got sent off in the first leg, it was the exact same ball over the top.
Yeah.
The space in between, and it went to the exact same man around the same area as well.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see if it was offside because, to be honest, the minute the second goal went in, the TV nearly went out the window. It was effing and blind, and then so I didn't get to catch that part. I was in too much of a bad mood. So
They
I
got a green
don't.
line, but they didn't seem to look at it for very long. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
they
you'd have
didn't.
to ask the boys for the rest of that. But I was annoyed the manner of the goal because of all the space. We know Trent. Well, most players from Liverpool can ping a ball like that. But what annoyed me, as I said, from the first, like, we seen the same thing when it went over to Jota and Xhaka got sent off. So it was really disappointing. And then back on the substitution part, what annoyed me was last year in the Europa League semi-final, we took off Aubameyang when we needed a goal. I know in that leg, Aubameyang missed a glorious chance like Lacazette tonight. But if you're going to bring on Eddie, which I don't rate, bring him on for a midfielder, go for it. Don't take him off for Lacazette, because Lacazette missed a sitter. But if I wanted to fall to either of them, I wanted to fall to Lacazette again. So we should have just went for it at that stage. But I just don't rate Eddie. I hope the kid, I hope he goes on into the Championship or something again and gets his career going. But he's just not for us. But for the second goal, it was game done then. So I didn't really pay attention to the last couple of minutes,
especially with the time in the game that it happened as well. Had they have scored the second goal on like the 60th minute or something like that, 70th minute even, there's still more than enough time. Obviously, teams have turned it around in less than that before, but yeah, really, really hard. It was
deflating. Yeah,
honestly, when that second goal went in yesterday, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to look in my house. Mrs. was talking to me, just having arguments for the sake of having arguments because I was in a bad mood.
But Jake, just quickly, if you just look at the heat map that you have up here, man, it was pass the ball to the side and then pass it right back. Go across the next side, pass it up, right back. Your heat map is just explaining the entire game that Arsenal had.
Well, the only player running for us yesterday was Martinelli. Everything was too slow at times. It was just Martinelli. And even, I don't want to criticise Martinelli, but there was times where he'd get down the byline and he'd look to cross it and then he'd stop and then he'd look to cross it again, and then he'd have 3 or 4 Liverpool players around him because they know how much of a threat he is. So, it was. But again, I won't criticise Martinelli at all. We all love him, and he was our biggest threat last night.
Yes, he certainly was. Okay, Pitchside Gunner, coming to you next with the final question of the breakdown of the game before we get into some other questions with regards to Arsenal. To make matters worse, if they weren't already bad as things stood, Thomas Partey lasted 15 minutes yesterday, 2 bookings. What did you make of the situation?
It just goes from bad to worse, doesn't it? Xhaka first, now Partey. Well, they probably won't play together again till March.
No,
that's right. I mean, I've been looking at our fixture list now. Especially with FA Cup weekend, we've barely got 2 games a month now.
Yeah, we've got 2 games in February. I think after the Burnley game, we've got nearly 2 weeks without a game. And
that's what I'm worried about. Before it was game after game after game over the Christmas period, and we're picking up form. Partey was obviously fatigued, tired.
Yeah,
he didn't want to be on the pitch, and he's just lashed out. And
it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate.
Arteta should be fined for playing him. That's my personal opinion.
It's a difficult one because
him and Edu.
Yeah, it's the players made himself fit and available, which I understand because he's not been injured. He's been away playing games regularly, AFCON. But we all know, we've all been on holiday before. We've all been on a plane before. You know how you feel, after you get off. He landed in the UK at 12 o'clock. And less than 8 hours later, you know, he's getting ready to play a game of football. And we're not talking about going down the park playing football with your mates, but this is elite level football. So whilst it was a very, very good gesture, hopefully the football club, generally speaking, can learn from this experience, because it was literally the worst possible outcome, wasn't it? It really was.
Yeah, I seen before the game, like, fans were putting out where Thomas Partey went to the AFCON and, you know, he went away and he didn't miss any Prem game, and then he comes on and jinxes it. Like, so the red card, it just made the night worse. Like, it was salt into the wound.
Yeah, and not to have a little outburst here about this, but you loan out Maitland-Niles. You have 4 to 5 players going.
We're going to get
onto
this.
So we start on this.
Like, well, then hit the slider, Jake. Hit the slider, because we need to touch this point. Touch it. I'll hold off until.
So what we're going to do, we don't normally do this. We normally jump into a game at this point of the show, which we are going to get into. So for anyone who is watching and looking forward to the game this evening, don't worry, that is coming. Don't you worry. But what we're going to do is we're going to just quickly remove this so you can see our beautiful faces just a little bit closer before I pour the other half of my beer quickly. A quick observation from myself, and I just want to grab like a quick 30-second assessment from each of you. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. But my observation yesterday around individuals, I felt that Saka was very isolated yesterday, really had no service and struggled out wide, whether or not that was a system thing or he needs a bloody rest thing. Tommy and Emil Smith-Rowe looked unfit, match fit, shall we say. They definitely 100% weren't their usual selves. Tierney had a bad game for a change. I didn't think he was his usual self in terms of the levels of consistency that he typically tends to show. Lacazette, who's, well, someone we're all normally full of praise for, just absolutely disappeared yesterday. Just wasn't in the game at all. I could speak about Partey, clearly tired, got sent after 15 minutes, speaks for itself. Sambi done okay, I thought, in the sense that he's really, really young. He probably didn't expect to play anywhere near as much football for Arsenal this season compared to what he actually has done. And it's clear for me to see that he needs a strong partner next to him because he's still learning. Odegaard was one of the very few shining lights from yesterday's game. Excellent in parts. Dribbling was exceptional occasionally. His passing was really, really, really good as well. Played a little bit deeper yesterday compared to where he normally plays in that number 10 role, and he done an okay job. Yeah. And then finally, Martinelli, absolutely outstanding, all things considered. And that quote that he got at the end of the game from Klopp really kind of speaks.
That's not the first time Klopp has spoke highly about him. Klopp, keep your hands off.
I know. He needs to keep his hands off, doesn't he? Keep them off indeed. So, Keith, quick assessment on any individuals, good or bad?
I'm just going to concentrate on the good for once, because I'm normally the grumpy old bastard of the group. So I'm going to concentrate. I thought, obviously, Gabby was outstanding. I thought Martin Odegaard had a good game. And you know what? Everyone needs to get off Sambi's back. It's like he was just supposed to be coming over here learning his trade. It's not his fault that we've been left in this situation where we've got no central midfielders. Nice judge. You know, just get off his back. He's doing his best. And, you know, he was up against 2 world-class central midfielders last night. And I actually thought he had not too bad a game, to be perfectly honest.
He was a scapegoat at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been an easy target. So, yeah, get off his fucking back. So let him get on with it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Agreed.
John, quick assessment.
No. Yeah, as I said, I think Sambi was scapegoat. Our fan base at times seem to have to find a scapegoat for a game. They can't just admit that we were outclassed in the middle. Liverpool are European champions, or Premier League champions. They had, did they have Milner in? No, who did they have in midfield? Fabinho. Was it Henderson. Fabinho, Milner, and Jones, or Firmino, Henderson, and Jones? They had Jones, in there.
Yeah. Jones was good yesterday.
So apart from Jones being around Sambi's age, you're coming up against 2 really experienced midfielders, and we know the way Liverpool play. They can make the best of teams' midfield look bad at times. They can make any player look bad the way they play. But Martinelli, another big shout out to him. He normally, when Saka has the ball, or Martinelli has the ball, or Odegaard has the ball, or Smith-Rowe has the ball, you'll always get off your seat. But last night, it was only Martinelli that was really getting off my seat at times. But again, I don't want to go in too hard on Saka because he's not got a break really since he's broke into the team consistently. he hasn't got a break. So yeah. Again, I don't want to go in too hard on the boys, but there was nothing we could have done. He had to put out a team last night, so there was nothing we could have done.
Neil, quick assessment: the good, the bad.
I thought, the 2 goals that Ramsdale conceded was, they were both, one was a deflection, the other one was, well, not really a deflection, but a scuff, and then a pile up. And then the second goal was just class. Our back line has done us very well this season. I can't get down on them. Liverpool is an elite team. We know that. Sambi, the only thing I would say about Sambi is, as if he is able to speeden his game up, become quicker, he will be a really, really top talent. We can see that. We can see the balls he play. In terms of Martinelli and Saka, every time they had the ball, they had 2, 3, 4 players on them, especially Saka.
Yeah.
That's why he was isolated out of the game. He had 4 players on him at one point in time, so, and he's usually the guy that takes on defenders. We had Martinelli doing that. He had a really good game, shining light for us. Lacazette, I expect more from him. That's the bad. That's the ugly right there. Martin Odegaard had a decentish enough game. This is just my simple assessment as in quickest way as I could.
It's just a few quick fire questions. I've got a couple more that I'm going to fire at everyone. Pitch side, Lou, quick assessment, the good, the bad.
Well, I think our defence, of course, was. I've got to blame Arteta for putting Tomiyasu in. I don't think White and Gabriel were at their best. I don't care who they're up against. They got to be. It just didn't seem their normal selves last night.
No, they didn't, to be fair to them.
I thought Tierney was probably the better out of the 4, to be honest. I don't think Ramsdale had a bad game. The first goal, he was going to his left, and it sort of it lopsided him, didn't it?
Yeah.
So just
very unfortunate.
He didn't put foot wrong apart from that, really. Midfield. I always say, and I've said this for 20. I've been supporting Arsenal over 30 odd years. Since I've started to get to know the game a lot better. Over the last sort of couple of years. Nah, I'm joking. It takes a player a good year to settle in the Premier League.
It does.
When you're a foreigner, especially Sambi's age, like Curtis Jones calls him Bambi Lukonga. When I think it's a bit harsh on him. He needs to physically toughen up a bit, and I think with help in this in summer, there is no tournaments. There's a World Cup next winter, isn't it?
The winter, yeah.
Yeah.
Calendar year.
So he can toughen up. I don't know if you're going to talk about transfers, but
yes, we are going to talk about transfers in just a moment. But before we talk about transfers, there is another point I just want to bring up very, very quickly, actually. And I'm going to ask all of you the same question as well. Again, quick answer on this one. Otherwise, the stream's going to end up being 2 hours long. But Arsenal seem to have a new problem. Arsenal have had their fair share of problems towards the back end of the Arsene Wenger reign, the Emery reign, and, throughout Arteta's as well. But a discipline problem seems to have snuck in, unfortunately. 14 red cards since Arteta took over in December 2019, which is the most out of any club during that period. He seems to have changed the culture for the better. But as I said, this is a new problem with the club. Coming to you first, Keith. what can we do to change this? Because it has to change. There's too many occasions now where the Man City game, we're still in it. We go a man down. You know, and there are other occasions as well. You know, we made it difficult for ourselves in the first leg against Liverpool, Xhaka being sent off. What can we do to change this?
Well, I mean, firstly, I think the nearest ones to us, the figure's 14 since Arteta took over, isn't it? I think Southampton have got 8. If you take Granit Xhaka out of the equation, that gives us 9, which isn't quite as bad. There's a lot of stupid, poor decision making going on. Like I said, I'm going to discount Partey's ones from last night because I think they were just the tackles of a tired bloke who shouldn't even have been on the pitch. So there is stupid decision making going on. There's no real aggressive, violent play happening. You look at some of them from last season. All right, there was one Pepe when he put his head in. Xhaka, I think it was against Burnley, wasn't it, where he got old matey around the throat. But then you got the David Luiz one against Wolves. You know, we all know never a penalty in a million years. So there's another one you could scratch off from the 14, which puts us level with Southampton. So it's not actually as bad as it looks. I think it's just one of those stats people like Sky Sports love banging out at us. And when you look at this thing, was supposed to be an investigation into the yellow card, which has now disappeared conveniently. There was never anything that said that they were investigating us. They were just investigating the booking. So maybe they were looking at Bookmall and saying, right, because there's an awful lot of terrible decisions going on, not just us. We are getting a real rough rub of the green with the refereeing decisions, but other teams are as well. Not as bad as us, but other teams are getting poor decisions against them. They need to look at the officiating because we're not a dirty team, and it's only the last 6 months or so we've stopped being a pushover. So what are we supposed to do? But I'm not.
I love Martinelli's aggressiveness. That's what I love.
He's a street fighter.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
You don't come from Brazil without fight.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't believe how hungry he is and aggressive and he's just I just love him, man. I mean, how could Arteta have sat him on the bench for this long is beyond me.
But on the red card situation, Jake, I agree what Keith said. Like, I'm not really a person to look into stats, whether it's goals or anything like that. I like to use my eyes. And if you look at all them red cards, if you look back, how many of them were actually bang on red cards? And that's not just for us, that's for other teams in the league as well. You have to look at the officiating because people can put up stats saying, you can have your Gary Nevilles or whoever write up saying, we've discipline problems, but a couple of years ago we were called too soft, and now there's people saying we're not disciplined enough. But you have to look at these red cards and you have to look at these scenarios and were they actually second yellows, were they reds? So for me, I won't really look too much into it. It is frustrating and it is costing us in certain moments, but there's a lot of red cards that we've had and other teams have had this season where you just look and you just think, how was he sent off or how wasn't he sent off?
Also, we need to look back. Remember when first few years of Arsene Wenger's tenure, and we had a shocking record. There were like so many sending offs, and people were making a big deal of it then. But he kind of worked out all right in the end, didn't he, Arsene Wenger?
Exactly. Yeah. Let them keep writing what they want because we were called soft years ago, and now they're complaining that we're not disciplined. So let them talk.
Even Dennis Bergkamp used to get his fair share.
Yeah, he was not afraid of putting it about.
And he certainly wasn't.
Lou, what's your thoughts on the discipline problem? Or the perceived discipline problem, pitchside?
Moi?
Yes.
Granit Xhaka's karate kick last week sums it all up. I mean, what the hell? I reckon we'd have won that game. He stays on that pitch. We win that game, and we're going to Wembley Way next month.
Yeah,
I think it's been a totally different ball game. I think we need to sell Xhaka and change the mentality, get rid of the rotten eggs, and why on earth we kept hold of him, I don't know who is a Xhaka's fan, but I'm not. I never have been, and I never will be. You know, especially when we had the chance to sign in N'Golo Kante instead. And I'll never forgive Arsenal for that. Never. Oh, it's just unforgivable. Xhaka is a problem. Yellow cards constantly, rash tackles, stupid. I mean, Man City didn't even look like scoring on New Year's Day, let alone, you know, and he pulls Bernardo's shirt, Bernardo drops to the floor, 1-1. Gabriel, he's still young, goes to his head. Was it 2 yellows? He's off. We've lost the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's little things like that that can cost us that 4th spot, you know. And
It is. It is. And we'll get on to the 4th spot.
Now Partey's out, and I just think whatever happens this season, it's a massive summer. Massive.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's humongous. And whether we get that 4th or 5th, whatever, we don't finish in that top 4, and God forsake them down the road get it.
Yeah, we're going to speak about that in just a moment, actually. But before we do, Neil, I want to grab your thoughts on it, mate, on the discipline problem at Arsenal, or as I said, the perceived.
Yeah, it's a headline, man. You know, 14 red cards, Arsenal. It's a headline. No one's going to look into it and dissect it and know exactly where those red cards are coming from. And just to echo Keith's point, you take Granit Xhaka out of it, that's a whole heap of red cards, and then you remove the naivety and lack of experience from Gabriel, who has had a couple red cards as well, and then David Luiz red card against Wolves. You know, it boils us down to maybe 7, 8 red cards. You know,
do you think VAR's got anything to do with it?
Then there's that as well. So, you know, you take all those things out of it, you have half of what you see there, and that's it. You know, red cards is part of the game. People, they get bad tackles. You know, we get bad refereeing every week. You know, so yeah.
Okay, next question, and there's 2 final questions before we get into the game, and let's try to get these answers done quickly. Otherwise, we're going to be here all bloody night at this rate.
Speed is the essence, chaps.
Speed is the essence. So, Keith, coming to you first. Arsenal are unfortunately now no longer in any cup competitions. We only have the Premier League to focus on. Given our position, should getting top 4 now for Arsenal be the bare minimum. However, how much does bringing in a new central midfield player and or striker influence that?
Massively. Hugely. I'd say at the start of the season, I'll take 6th as an improvement on last season. But we're in a position now where there's no reason why we shouldn't get 4th. The Swamp Dwellers down the road, they're still in the FA Cup, as are Man United. This is all we've got. We've got, what is it, 16 games, 18 games? Can't remember off the top of my head. There's no reason why we shouldn't. And we got a much better running than the other lot down the road as well. They've still got to play Liverpool, Man City, I think Man United and Chelsea, and I'm not sure they might all be away. So there's 4 games there. Every game we've got left should be winnable. But we do need to invest. And I don't know if we're still going to, if we've got time to go into like the transfer market and such things. But yeah, we need to. We need to stop chasing bloody Dusan Vlahovic. He clearly doesn't want to play for us. Just forget about him. There's just, I see no point to chasing after him. We've got like 10 days left to get a striker and a central midfielder. And it's looking like we're probably going to go for Genie Wijnaldum because it looks like the Arteta one might be falling through. I don't know how true that is. But that's essential. If we don't get those players in, realistically 6th, I think.
And John, whilst you've got a fan in the chat, do you want to answer the question as well?
For me, we should have had a midfielder in for the Forest game and the Liverpool game. For me, the two biggest games of the season, apart from playing the scum, was the two cup games. Fort is not. I respect everyone's opinion, and I'm sure everyone respects my opinion. But for me, Fort with a trophy, I'll take. Fort without a trophy, it means nothing. You're celebrating nothing. You're celebrating getting into a Champions League that we done for years under Wenger, and we failed. We got trashed in it. So for me, we couldn't even win the Europa League over the years. So for me, we desperately... Yes, I'd still like to get Fort, but it's going to be nothing to celebrate. So yeah, we do need a midfielder and a striker. And as Keith said, I'm not going to pronounce the geezer's name, but if he doesn't want to come, move on. There's plenty of strikers out there. We all have Dominic Calvert-Lewin would take. I'd even take Ollie Watkins from Villa. So I'll move on from him. There's plenty of, you don't want to be wasting. We've already wasted. There's 10, 11 days left. So business needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. And it's easy to look at Mikel and say, get it done, get it done, get it done. It's Edu that needs to get it done. They need to stop releasing stuff every day, all these new tracksuits and t-shirts. They need to start getting players in.
Bus seats.
But
don't say that to judge. Don't say that to judge.
No, but top four for me, I don't really have nothing to look forward to, only playing Tottenham now in my eyes. But
it's also got to consider what happens to us if we get in the Champions League next season. If we don't strengthen massively, what's going to happen to us in the Champions League?
It's going to be Bayern all over again.
Yep.
Could well be.
Neil,
that's my worry.
Thoughts,
but
mate?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the question?
So, if with the remaining games in hand, if we do get top four, it is a step in the right direction because we finished 2 consecutive seasons.
But Chelsea finished 10th and then got 4th the following season.
Yeah. So without a trophy, you're very right. It's not something to celebrate, but it is a step in a good direction. What I would like to see from this club is that if a player is leaving, whether it be on loan or leaving the club permanently, we have a replacement in hand. Not that we are empty-handed now, because that's what we are. We're empty-handed as a club in a few positions. So it's frustrating to talk about it, but you would like to think that you as a club and in the whole footballing realm, that these competitions are coming up, that these players are going to be no longer here. They're going to be committed to their countries, that you would have something prepared for that. And it's clear that we're not prepared. We're not proactive enough as a club. We have Leighton Miles going out, no one coming in. We have El Neni, Thomas Partey, Aubameyang, Pepe, and someone else away on AFCON duty. Like, come on, man. Like, we need to do something about it. And us coming onto those 2 cup competitions falls on Edu and falls on Arteta. They're not being proactive enough as the leaders of the club. They need to be, putting pen to paper and signing somebody to fill the roles.
And let's not forget, if we finished 9th or 10th, winning the FA Cup gets you into Europe, gets you into the Europa League. And if you win the Europa League, you're in the Champions League. So you have to put all this in. If we don't know, we could easily finish 9th. And then if we won the FA Cup, we'd be in the Europa League. And then if you win the Europa League, you're in the Champions League. We don't have many routes to get into it. And we're fighting with so many teams that we should be taking every competition. Well, I think we were taking this competition seriously, but it goes to letting players out on loan that just makes it hurt even more.
No, you are right. And pitch side, lastly, before we get into the final question before our game, what are your thoughts? Should we be getting top 4 minimum if we sign a striker and a central midfield player?
100%. We're better than Tottenham Hotspur. We are better. That's not through bias. They have a better manager, no doubt. That's why they won 3-2 at Leicester, because of Conte. They had Nuno. They'd have lost that game. That's Conte, mate. That's how good he is. Yeah. He is elite level manager, mate. He's one of the best in the world. And I can't believe they got their grubby little hands on him, but they have. The cup was a joke, an absolute embarrassment. ashamed to be an Arsenal supporter that day. That's our cup. You know, we're the record holders in it, 14-time winners. You know,
Yeah.
it's just embarrassing. And of course, the Carabao Cup. I think if we'd have got to Wembley, we'd have beat Chelsea. I think the way Chelsea are playing at the moment, I could just see us. I just think if we could have got past Liverpool, we'd have won it, and that's the sad thing. But I think West Ham are going to fall away, especially with their Europa League. I think Man U are now level on points with us, but for me, they're too inconsistent. They've got Champions League as well, FA Cup. It's out of Arsenal and Spurs, and I think we got the better team.
If United get a midfielder in, they'll fight for it. They need a midfielder.
They need probably more than us.
Yeah, but they said today that they're not signing anyone under the Ranić until they get a new manager.
We need to concentrate on ourselves and not Man United and Tottenham anyways. Tottenham are irrelevant. We need to concentrate on ourselves because there's no point talking about United bottling it and Tottenham bottling it because then we'll go ahead and bottle it ourselves. So we need to concentrate on our own games and win our own games. And as long as we keep winning our own games, we don't need to worry about the teams around us.
I'd like to see us bring Bruno Guimaraes in.
That would be a summer signing because they want too much.
That's a summer signing. My thing is this. We have Jack Wilshere training with the team currently.
No.
We have him training with the team currently. Give him a short-term contract for him to fill the position. We have nobody there. We have no one there.
Bring back Vermaelen now. Bring back Diaby.
No. I'm not saying bring back everybody.
Bring
but
back Wenger.
If we're focusing on DMs outside, focus on them and try to get them before the window closes. We have games to play. We have games to play. We still have games to play. Put the player in the position. We have no one there. No one.
No.
Well,
it's not about being nostalgia or anything. It's just about filling the position. That's it.
Bring back Arteta instead. At least he wasn't injury prone.
I have to get a hammer out in a minute.
If I can jump in here, Jake, I'm going to kind of agree with Neil. Under normal circumstances, I don't think Jack is any longer good enough to still be playing for us. But what's going to happen Sunday? What we're going to do? Play Miguel Aziz and Charlie Pacino, middle of the park against Burnley. If it's a case of giving Jack a contract and we literally have no one else to play in the middle of the park, then play him. If he's better than anything else that's available, then we've got to give him a deal.
Recall Guendouzi.
We can't recall Guendouzi because of the obligation to buy in his contract, unfortunately.
Top player.
What about
this guy right here?
Well,
is the guy that I reckon we will bring in the next couple of days.
I do was having talks with him,
Yeah, for anyone who watches my Arsenal news shows, there are some very well-connected journalists to Arsenal at the moment who seem to believe that Arsenal are in advanced negotiations with Juventus for an 18-month loan deal with an option to buy for 50 million euros. And this is at advanced stages. Artur's agents were in London yesterday, face-to-face meetings with Edu. And to answer your question, Jim, I think that he would have made a huge difference yesterday in midfield because he would have sat alongside Lokonga. No disrespect to Odegaard or Emil Smith-Rowe, but you either play Emil Smith-Rowe out wide on the left with Odegaard or you don't play them together at all. And I think that was evident yesterday, unfortunately. They can play in the same team, in my opinion. But, yeah, we definitely need to bring someone in sooner rather than later. Right. Before we get on to the final question, just going through a few comments here. Tom, thank you very much for coming along. Appreciate you showing your support, my friend. Can we trust journalists?
No, you can't, because I've looked at journalists and 1 minute we've got a bid accepted for Vlahovic at 58 million. Then I seen a package of 150 million. Then you see a package of 68 million. Then you see 80 million. So I don't trust them. I don't even trust Fabrizio, and he's meant to be, the top. If they're wearing, I'll wait till they're holding up the jersey. I don't trust any of them because at the end of the day, we all know it's about getting the most.
Hold on, John. Spot on.
Right. before we get into the game, there's one last question, and we're quite deep into the evening now. So I just want a yes or a no, no explanation. A yes or a no on this.
Do we have to put our hand up? Me, I know the answer.
So the question is, Keith, yes or no? In the summer,
Yes.
Arteta will have 1 year left on his contract. It expires in the summer of 2023. If Arsenal manage to get top 4 Champions League football next season, does he deserve a new contract over the summer?
Absolutely.
John? You're on mute.
Shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Neil?
This is the one, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
We haven't had
yes.
top 4 Champions League football since Wenger.
That's because of Granit Xhaka, but yes.
Yes or no, Lou?
Yeah.
110%.
Good answers, lads. Right. We are going to try and finish the stream off in the next few moments. I do promise. I really, really, really do promise.
Big up everyone in the chat.
John, well said. Well said. Absolutely. Big up everyone in the chat. It's been phenomenal this evening. Some great questions. Really, really love the engagement. So thank you all very much for coming along.
People throw some flames. Throw some flames in the chat.
I'm just very worried they've been able to put up with us for an hour, but
I don't know. Who are these people that put up with us? Fair play to them. Really, really fair play to them. Okay, so this next part of the show, for those of you who aren't normally around, basically there are 3 players on screen. I don't reveal who they are. There's some key information. We've got a heat map from left to right, and then some key stats. The panel, as we speak, are analysing this information, and if they're not, they bloody well should be. What I need you to do in the chat is I need you to guess who player number 1 is based on the information, because I am about to ask the panel who they think it is. So, Keith, coming to you first. We've got a player here who's played centrally, potentially. 90% passing accuracy, 2 key passes, 2 successful dribbles out of 4, 7 successful duels out of 11, and 2 tackles. Who is player number 1?
I reckon that's our number 23, Sambi Lukonga.
John?
I'm going to go Odegaard.
Lou?
I'm going to go Sambi as well.
Neil?
Sambi.
Who said Odegaard?
John's right
Me.
again, eh?
John, you're right, my friend. Well done. Well done. Well done.
John
Okie
smashes
dokie.
this game, by the way.
Sorry?
John smashes this game, by the way. He was always I don't know playing. I always lose.
Okie dokie. Moving on to picture number 2. We've got a player here with 85% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, 100% dribble accuracy, 5 out of 6 successful duels, and 1 tackle. Keith, who is picture number 2? Smith Rowe. Is that is Smith Rowe? Yeah.
Yes, my God. Yeah, I think I said.
John.
Quick. I'm Smith Rowe. Yeah, Smith Rowe.
Lou.
Yeah, I agree. Smith Rowe.
And then finally, let me take the comment off the screen quickly. Neil.
Sambi.
And Judge, you are absolutely right. They are just for you. They are absolutely just for you.
They are bored.
Who said Sambi Lukonga?
Lou.
You would be absolutely correct if you said Sambi Lukonga. So well done.
What's going on?
Okey-dokey. And then finally, we've got picture number 3. 80% passing accuracy. No crosses successful yesterday, which brings to the front that we do need to sign a better forward. 4 out of 8 successful dribbles, 1 shot on target out of 2, and 19 duels. 19 duels yesterday, but only 8 successful. Keith, who is picture number 3?
Gabby.
John.
Gabby. Saka was quite. Yeah.
Who do you think it is, Luke?
Tierney.
And Neil.
Thierry Henry. I'm sorry.
We would have won yesterday if he was playing.
That would be definitely Martinelli.
And it was Martinelli. So well done for everyone who guessed Martinelli.
I thought it was Martinelli, but I just thought I'd go for KT. Just
go for someone a bit different.
Yeah,
he is on that left-hand side. So, Judge, you do make a very good point with the learning herpes, but we try our best. We do try our best. So, right, that is going to about wrap things up for this evening. It's been a slightly longer show than we normally do, so I do really appreciate everyone coming along in the chat. You've been absolutely superb with your questions, your comments, and your answers, especially in today's stream. Tom, I'm assuming that was in relation to Gabby Martinelli. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that stat as well, actually. Only 2 shots all game. And then, Judge, I don't know if you've been cheating with that answer, but yeah, it was Martinelli. Anywho, we are going to about wrap things up. Before we do, it's an opportunity for our panelists, who I'm very grateful for coming along this evening, to let everyone watching know what they're all about away from our show. So, Keith, you're next to me, so it's convenient to go with you first. Okay. You've recently started doing some live shows on your channel as well, which are, if you haven't caught them, Keith, tell them all about it.
Okay. Well, cheers for having us on again, Jake. I say this every time, but it's important to be polite, especially to your host. So cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I live quite a lot on Twitter nowadays, so if anyone wants to find me on there, I'm at the Mad Rambling One. And as Jake said, I've got a YouTube channel. I've kind of can't call it a new one anymore, because I know I've done about 42 videos so far. But I did my first live stream a couple of weeks ago, and that was lots of fun. So I'll be doing more of that in the not too distant future. But I don't talk all about football. I talk about like random shit as well, which can sometimes be occasionally amusing. So if you like that sort of thing and you don't mind listening to someone who swears a lot, give it a look. Cheers.
You're underplaying yourself there, Keith, as well. That you honestly massively underrated channel. So if you don't already follow Keith or subscribe to his channel, go and do it. Literally, as this show finishes, you will not be disappointed at all. Details in the description below, not only for Keith but for every panelist here tonight. John, not quite there with your YouTube channel yet, but you're getting there slowly.
I need to. I'm not tech savvy. Like I'm very temperamental when it comes to stuff like that. And then with stuff in the personal life at the moment with health and stuff, it's a bit behind. But I'm really hoping it's the next few days I go to do it, and then obviously you lads, we talk daily. You know the situation, unfortunately. So hopefully next week, anyways. But I appreciate you having me on again. I always love these, and everyone in the chat, I appreciate everyone stopping by with their questions, comments, and I hope they really enjoyed it for us talking for over an hour. If you want to find me on Twitter, I don't really be on it at the moment, but if you want to find me on Twitter for anything, you can find me at JohnJordan2021. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good night.
Absolutely. And I will definitely, if anyone follows me on Twitter, I'll be letting everyone know about John's YouTube channel.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Loads of retweets, loads and loads and loads of advertisement from all of us.
I just want to, again, and like it will be on football, but the first couple of episodes, I actually have a few old mates that I haven't talked in years, and I'm going to have Keith on and the lads on, but Keith specifically for the first episode's going to be based on mental health, if anyone wants to come along, and it needs to be talked about. So if there's anyone out there at the moment going through a tough time, I'm sending my love, and just keep the head up and DM any of the boys here, and we'll chat to you.
Well said. Absolutely well said. Lou, first appearance on the channel. Thank you very much for coming along this evening. Really, really do appreciate it. You also have a Twitter and YouTube channel. Is that right?
Yeah, I've got 3 YouTube channels actually. One from bloody hell, it's in its 5th year now.
Wow.
But I stopped content creating on that ages ago. It's called The Politics of Football. It's got about 4,000 followers. But I'm just starting to get it back up and going. It's not Arsenal based. And I've also set up a new channel. I'm going to watch Bristol Rovers next weekend with my best mate.
Awesome.
Joey Barton's the manager, so it should be a laugh, shouldn't it? Try and get right behind the dugout. I'm buying some new YouTube equipment so I can get some decent. Yeah, and for the Arsenal channel, it's hard getting subscribers to the Arsenal channel with not getting to the Emirates because of the COVID. I've caught it twice now, and the last time I went to the Emirates, I come home and I was in bed for a week, you know.
Not good.
And
Not good.
so it's putting me off going a little bit at the moment, but you know, it's just one of them things you got to risk, and if you want to go and see it.
Absolutely. Well, look, just like everyone else, Lou, I've got your details down in the description below. So if anyone does want to, well, follow him on Twitter, have a conversation, have a look at what his content looks like on YouTube. Please do go and have a look. So I really do appreciate you coming along and spending some time with us this evening.
Just me having a rant normally about what's going on.
Arsenal fan and rant goes together, so it's all right.
And then finally, Neil, how we're doing? Thank you very much for coming along. Where can people find you, my friend?
You can find me on Twitter at Neil Dwarka. You can find me on Instagram as Neil the Realtor. And you can also find me on Facebook as Neil the Realtor as well. Come check out the YouTube channel at Cannon FC on YouTube, and hopefully we can link up.
Perfect. Brilliant. Well, that is going to about round things up for this evening. As already said, thank you all very much for coming along. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, turn that bell on as well so you don't miss out on any future shows, because I'm assuming most of our panel will be around Sunday evening, potentially for the Burnley game. We'll have to wait and see if it goes ahead. But for now, we are out. Thank you very much.
Cheers for having me, guys.